Okay, well, I'm going to kick off a little bit. I'm Mark Halpert. I'm a LinkedIn coach and LinkedIn trainer, and I've been working with Sandy since April, and it's been a wonderful relationship. And thank you very much, Sandy. And this is the second in our two different Q&A sessions. So welcome everybody. And if you don't know Sandy already, you really ought to. She's a virtuoso luxury travel advisor who creates custom curated itineraries, such as the one we're going to talk about tonight, for individuals and groups. And she's an expert in group travel, and everything seems to be an amazing experience. So that's great. She started 14 years ago to started her company, We Make Travel Easy. She's gone to 70 countries and counting. Is that still an accurate number?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a little over 70. I mean, once I start, well, I mean, Egypt's going to add it on. And
71. Very good.
71, or maybe it's up to 72. I don't know. I kind of lose track after a while.
And as I've learned about the travel industry, she has so many accolades to her name. Virtuoso Travel Advisor, Condé Nast Top Travel Specialist 2021. Last week, brand news, named to the Top Producers Club for 2021. And top 30 out of 400 agencies in the Gifted Travel Network, and all her client testimonials. So she has a special itinerary to share with us. It's been curated especially by her. It's unique in its way. It's the riverboat cruise through the rivers of the Netherlands and Belgium. Some great stops, once in a decade attraction, Floriade 2022. So, first we'll have Sandy make some remarks, and then we'll break it open for questions. So Sandy, over to you. Thanks.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much, Mark. That was a fabulous introduction, and I'm so happy and glad to see so many of you here. So I am going to share my screen and we'll get started. So Mark, can you give me some feedback? Can you see?
You're good. Go ahead.
We're good. Okay, so here we are. We Make Travel Easy is my company, and we're going to talk about Floriade 2022. Okay, some of you may know me, some of you don't, but this is who I am. And Mark did kind of give you a little bit about I feel very honored. I started my company in 2007, and I have won a lot of awards and accolades, and I'm very honored and very grateful and very humble for the respect in the industry, and also from my very loyal and loving clients who I just adore and love working with. I'm going to give you a little teaser before I get into this.
Once in every 10 years, the world unites to taste, smell, feel, and enjoy the power of green together.
I'm not seeing the video.
That's when the International Horticultural Exhibition opens its doors. Once every 10 years, we experience how green makes us healthier, happier, more energetic. How wonderful it makes our towns and cities. That green is the future. Once in every 10 years, you have the chance to experience it. Floriade Expo 2022.
Okay, so just to give you a little, that was just a little bit. I love that thing. He says Floriade. I've said Floriade. I don't know, tomato. I don't know what's right. He sounds like he has an English accent, so I'm not sure exactly what's right. But what we all know is this is the most amazing International Floral Expo. It happens once every 10 years. 2022 was the planned thing, so everything's gone ahead as expected. For those of you who may not have heard of it before or know about it, to me, it's like taking a World's Fair and a Biennale, an art thing that happens in Venice and Miami and other places, and rolling it into one. And you just have an amazing experience, a lot of art, culture, futuristic things. And this is all around horticulture and flowers and sustainability. I mean, our planet is in a crossroads where we really need to know how to live healthier. And what this is going to do is be taking the information from the top specialists from around the world and showing us how we can have a greener, healthier, more beautiful life and a way to live. So the park itself is 150 acres. There are over 400 participants from all over the world. Some will be sharing pavilions and buildings. Others will have their own. For example, France has its own building, and they're going to be looking at demountable buildings, which is like, huh? A demountable building? But hey, somebody's got an idea, and maybe we need to be able to move things around depending on climate and change and whatever. And also dealing with experimental urban furniture. Germany is going to have examples of modern resources on how to have green cities. We know the Germans are very good with technology, so they're going to probably have some wonderful things. India is going to be presenting how do you cope with climate adaptation, and we know that India's had a lot of experience with that. And then there's also going to be a spiritual garden, so you could go there and maybe be quiet and spend some time thinking about nature. Indonesia's building is going to be talking about modern and traditional ways of living dynamically with nature. I mean, a lot of old cultures have had their ways of nature, but now bring modern technology in, and how can we blend the two to really have a better experience? We all know Japan will have a pavilion. We all know how beautiful their floral arrangements are, and they're the masters of flower arranging. And also they have amazing art and technology and Japanese culture. So there's going to be a lot to learn there. Nepal is going to have a building, and they're going to have lots of things about food and health. And the newest one that I heard about is Qatar, and it's going to be called the Desert Nest. And it's going to be forward thinking and vision for sustainability and how you can live in harmony with one's environment. And if anyone has a harsh environment, it's the desert. So I'm sure if they can come up with wonderful ideas about how do you live well in an environment like that, and let's face it, we're facing global warming. More places on this planet are becoming, we hope not deserts, but warmer. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot to learn from that. And the other thing that's going to be really fun, here's a drawing here, but there's going to be 850 meters of cable car link, and it'll link the north and the south part of the park. So not only will you be able to go from the north to the south, but you'll also have a bird's eye view over this amazing 150 acres and see it from a very different perspective. Then the Arboretum. The Arboretum is going to be amazing. It's I think it's 170 meters long, and it's going to be alphabetized, so it'll be easy to kind of go through. I mean, it'll be like a walking encyclopedia that you'll be there. It's going to be divided into a few different sections. There's going to be a technology section. There's going to be a bee pavilion, the greenhouse complex. There's going to be experimental things to try. There's going to be a restaurant. There's just going to be all kinds of things. So it's going to be really, really an amazing, well, 170 meters long. That's going to be an amazing building. So there's going to be a lot to see and do in terms of just plants and flowers. I guess in this, they're talking
Sandy, you're muted.
Everybody got muted, and then I got muted too, sorry. So on the picture on the left-hand side with the round building, that's an art center, and the lake is kind of around it. So it's going to be the art museum, and it's going to be art and architecture and nature all kind of put together. And then the building on the right-hand side, that's the food forum. So it's going to be a great place to meet. I mean, everybody likes food. There's going to be food trucks. There's going to be, you know, how do we have a sustainable food supply for the future? All different kinds of things. And this is all going to be in an urban district that they're calling Hortus. Sorry, so if you kind of see in the photo, you see the trees and the river on the side. And what's happening is that they're building this urban district. And the whole thing is that you're going to be able to see green. The houses are going to be hid behind the trees. The roads are going to be hid. So, I mean, we've all read articles about how important it is, especially in cities, to have trees around. And there's even been articles about how some neighborhoods that are economically depressed don't have enough trees, and that's negative for the people that live there. So we have an appreciation about how important green is for our lives. And not all of us want to live in rural areas, not all of us live in farms, but we have to learn how to make our urban lifestyle more livable. And that's what this is all kind of talking about and doing. And what they're doing is they're building this urban environment, and it's going to have housing and everything else, and they're going to leave it afterwards for the community where Floriade is happening. And I apologize to anyone who speaks Dutch, but my Dutch is terrible. So any pronunciation that I say of a Dutch name, I'm apologizing in the beginning right now. But so anyway, Hortus is going to be given to the community, and it's built to last 100 years. So it's going to be a very interesting experiment to see how that moves forward. And one of the things that's interesting, you'll be able to see that, now I remember when I went to World's Fair, and I'm kind of dating myself back, where now Shea Stadium exists in New York. And one of the exhibits that stands out in my mind so much was the future of cars. And they had this whole thing, pavilion set up or whatever, with driverless cars. And it was the way that they had it. They didn't have, they knew we were going to have driverless cars. They just didn't know the technology. I mean, the cars drove on and then they hooked onto a rail, kind of like our cable cars in San Francisco, and then they just drove. But if anyone lives in an area where they're doing a lot of research on driverless cars, in San Francisco, they're like ants. They're all over the place. These cars are learning how to drive. And we do have driverless cars happening. So, I mean, I saw the future, and here it is. And I think we're going to see many things like that with how to live in green, sustainable communities. So it's going to be a celebration of green, sustainable technology. I mean, there's going to be food, there's going to be art, there's going to be architecture. You're going to be meeting with other people who are into horticulture and gardening. And it's just going to be a great time. And the Japanese talk about forest bathing, about how important it is to go out into nature and just regenerate and relax and become more creative. So this is going to be an amazing 2 days of forest bathing in art, in culture, in green, and also looking into the future. So this is going to be a fabulous experience, and I would really, really love for all of you to join me on this amazing adventure. So this next slide that I'm not sure if I think it doesn't start till I press it. This is actually what it looks like right now. I mean, it's Floriade it opens in April and it runs through September. So, I mean, we're pretty close. We're only a few months off. So this is kind of giving you an idea of what it looks like today, how things are starting to look. So this is Floriade today. One of the things that I didn't mention about it is, is the river. And one of the things that they're also doing, which I think is really interesting, is the 2 bridges are going to be made, that are going to go over there, are going to be made out of waste from the flow from the river. So, I mean, they're just using every different kind of technology to kind of really be sustainable and move forward with that. So that was kind of exciting. Oh, and also when you saw those little colorful round tubes, those have Dutch elms growing in it. And it was actually an art exhibit somewhere else in the Netherlands. And they moved it so that it would be there in Floriade. So those have already been moved, and you saw them floating in the river there. So that was kind of an interesting thing to have the trees there. Okay, so let's talk about how this is all going to lay out and what the itinerary is going to look like. So what will happen is you will fly from your US gateway city and arrive in Amsterdam on May 29th, which is day one. And we'll have a welcome reception and a little briefing. And we're going to be staying at the Hyatt Regency in Amsterdam, 5-star hotel. So it's going to be lovely. So that will be your arrival day on day one. Day two, we'll have a full day at Floriade. So we'll leave in the morning, the bus will leave in the morning. We'll have the day there. We'll have some guides. If you want to go off and do it on your own, that's fine. We'll have a time to be back at the bus, to go back to the hotel. And so you can either hang with the guide or you can go off on your own. It's just going to be a full day to experience whatever interests you. And as you saw, there were so many different things, 150 acres. Day three is we'll start in the morning with a custom tour to the Aalsmeer floral auction. It's the world's largest flower auction. If you've never been or never seen it, it's amazing. The footprint is one of the largest buildings in the world. And when you think about that, it's all basically one story. So to me, it looks like 1 million football fields. If you think about large buildings, most of them are high rises, so they can go up 100 stories. And so they get a lot of square footage on a small footprint, but this is basically one level. So it's the most huge building. It almost all flowers around the world. It's an auction. If you think of like Christie's and they sit there before computers and laptops and all that kind of stuff. They would actually sit with paddles like an auction and they'd say, okay, here's this lot of flowers, and they bid. And the minute they're bid on, you see they have these trolleys that go all over and in this huge space, and what's ever sold then gets to the airport and gets flown all over the world. I have a friend whose father was a rose grower in Zimbabwe, and he sold all his roses through this auction in Amsterdam. It's an amazing sight to see, and you see the people there bidding and doing. It's very exciting. So it would be an early morning optional thing. After that's over, we'd come back to the hotel for the people that went, have breakfast, check out of the hotel, bags on the bus, go back to another full day at Floriade. So you've got 2 full days at Floriade. There's not one other itinerary that does that. And then in the late afternoon, we'll go to the ship. You'll embark on the ship. We'll have a lovely dinner on the ship, and we'll start our river cruise. So the next morning, we'll be leaving Amsterdam. So we'll cruise through the canals and see all the charming canal homes on our way to Utrecht. And so we are on this itinerary. One of the things that's very unique about it, that nobody else has this, is we're going to be visiting 4 special gardens. So on the first day in the afternoon, we're going to, there's actually, that day there's 2 options, and I'll tell you about both of them. And then at one point, we're going to have to vote and decide which of the 2 we want to go to. But right now I'm leaving it open. One is the Palais Het Bleu, and that has been the palace of the Orange family, which have been the kings of the Netherlands for 300 years. And it's a traditional 17th century, very stylized design garden, and it's just really beautiful, and it's the only one like it in the Netherlands. The other one is Linderhof Gardens, designed by Piet Oudolf. Some of you may know him or know of him. He is a Dutch garden designer. He's the leading figure in the new perennial movement. There was a documentary done about him called 5 Seasons. And he's revolutionizing garden designs. And he was very involved in the High Line in Manhattan. So so we'll decide between one of those 2, which one we'll end up doing. So everyone who's on the cruise, you'll get your vote, and then we'll see which one we choose. Okay, the next day we'll be cruising the Delta in the morning, and in the afternoon we're going to be at Veer, which is a former fishing village. It's now a yachting town, and it has gorgeous gardens and charming and just beautiful thing. And for some of you who may want something, a bike tour, you'll be able to ride to Middelburg. And Middelburg is beautiful, medieval, charming little town with meandering alleys and canal houses and a beautiful abbey and a late Gothic city hall. So, I mean, that's one of the things about river cruising is you have a lot of options on things that you can do. It's not like everybody has to do the same thing, or if you've got one interest and somebody else is interested in something, there's choices. So that would be day 5. Day 6, we're going to go to Bruges and Ghent. Ghent is the capital of East Flanders, and there'll be a walking tour and again a bike tour for those who love biking and would like to see the city, see the countryside or the city from that perspective. And then in the afternoon, go to Bruges. If you've never been to Bruges, I love Bruges. Bruges is the Venice of Belgium. It's totally charming. You can kind of see the pictures of the canal in the bottom right of the canal houses along the canal. The old part of the city has only pedestrian and bike traffic. So you meander around, you can take a canal boat ride through it. It's beautiful. The swans are on there. They go under the bridges. I mean, it's just, I have a picture of a dog hanging out of a window, you know, watching the world go by on the canal. It's really beautiful. And one of the other really wonderful sites in Bruges is the Church of Our Lady, and it's home to the Carrara marble Madonna and Child by Michelangelo, and it is stunning. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing to see. So it's a lovely, charming city, and it's one of my favorites. Okay, the next day will be Brussels and Antwerp. In the morning, again, one of our special custom garden tours that nobody else gets to go on except our group. And it's to Rosentinium columna, 3,000 varieties of roses. I mean, who knew that there were that many kinds of roses? So it's going to be just beautiful. It's kind of divided into 4 phases: the garden, the red and whites, the Flemish, the old rose, and the international roses. So if you're a rose lover, this is nirvana, this is heaven. And then in the afternoon, there'll be a choice of some city tours. You can do chocolate tasting, bike tour. There'll be different optional things to do. The next day in the morning, where it's got, again, another custom garden excursion to Arboretum West Pilar. And Arboretum West Pilar is devoted to the study of wood plants, which to me is another name for trees. And what they are doing is trying to learn as much as they can about trees and the preservation and how to, move forward with. I think they have. What did they have? There's over 2,000 species in about 50 acres, and they're really looking to preserve and learn as much as we can about trees and how important it is to our planet. So I think that's going to be, again, a very timely and important thing to learn about. The afternoon will be in Antwerp, the walking tour, there'll be a beer tasting, waffles and chocolate. What else do you expect in Belgium? Or a bike tour. So lots of different things that you can choose from depending on what your interest is. Then day 9, we're going to the Botanical Garden in Leiden. It is the oldest botanical garden in the Netherlands. It was started in 1583 as exotic and ornamental plants, including the tulip. And then in 1594, they started doing research on medicinal plants. Today, they have a Japanese garden. You may or may not know that Japan and the Netherlands met for the very first time April 19th in the year 1600. And they've had a relationship going forward, maybe sometimes not as good as other times, but obviously Japan has a pavilion in Floriade. So it's been a really long-term interchange of Eastern and Western cultures. And if you think about Van Gogh had a lot of Japanese woodcut prints and designs in his artwork. So you can see how the relationship between the Dutch and the Japanese really goes back for centuries. And they have 4 gardens. So they have Clusius, which is the one that was the original one with the exotic ornamental plants. There's a Japanese garden. There's a systematic garden that was developed in 2005. And it talks about the major steps in the evolution of plants. And then there's a fern garden that was established in 1993. During the 19th century, ferns and collecting them was really the thing to do. And it was very popular in the UK. So they're going to have all kinds of different kinds of ferns and things like that. So that's in the morning. And then the afternoon, this is one of my favorite things, is Kinderding. And again, I apologize for my Dutch, windmills. It's basically a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's really an outdoor museum of windmills. And you can either do this as a walking tour or a bike tour. Now, I hadn't ridden a bike in probably decades. And I decided I was going to take it as a bike tour. It's very flat. There's no cars. So if you haven't ridden a bike in a long time and you think you'd like to try it, you know, they tell you never forget. It's a wonderful thing to do, and you get to go through all these windmills, and it's really beautiful. And they actually have because it's like a museum, they have it set up, they have someone dressed, they have it, you know, with what it looked like when people actually live there. And then they'll do demonstrations about how the windmills worked and what they did and everything. It's just really beautiful, and it's out in the country, and it's just gorgeous. And then day 10, we're back in Amsterdam. So we've had a wonderful time. Hopefully everybody's had created fabulous memories, made new friendships. And one of the nice things about this is it starts and ends in Amsterdam. So in terms of flights, it's really easy. You're not landing in one country and leaving from another country. So it's all there. And we can help with flights for people that want assistance with booking your flights. So what does the ship look like? So we're going to be, I've got a partial charter on an AMA Waterways. I love AMA Waterways. I think they're one of the best river cruise companies out there. They've done a fabulous job during COVID. In fact, I was on one of their ships in November, and it was just great. They took all the safety protocols. Everything was fine. You must be vaccinated in order to sail. All their staff is vaccinated. In 2020, in the summer of 2020, before there were any vaccines and none of the US ships could sail, a German tour company chartered some AMA ships. They were staffed with AMA staff, and they sailed just in the German itineraries with AMA staff, but German tourists. And they had 1,400 passengers that summer and not one case of COVID. So, and that was before there was a vaccine. So, you know that AMA really has taken the safety protocols on the ship and everything to heart, and they really do an excellent job. So this is just give you a little outline of, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, that's what we call a cabin that we call a twin balcony. And if you see the champagne bucket and the chair, that's the outside part of the balcony. So it's a lovely day in the beginning of June, and we're sailing through the canals, or we're going on our way to Utrecht or somewhere, and you just want to be in your cabin by yourself. You can be outside. If you look at the one in the middle, and you see the two chairs with the little table in between, that's in the enclosed balcony. So it's glass in the back and on the side. So let's say it's a really hot day and you still want to be in your cabin and watch the river go by. You can be in there with the air conditioning, or if it's too cool or breezy or whatever, you can be there. The one that's next to it in the upper right-hand corner, that's what we call a French balcony. And you don't have any outside balcony, but you have floor-to-ceiling glass sliding doors. And the balcony is 6 inches on the outside, so it's nothing you can step out, but you know, you've got that full view there in your cabin. On the lower left-hand side, that is a windowed stateroom. So you can see the windows are up near the ceiling line. And actually, half of that cabin is at where the windows are, about where the water line is, maybe a little bit below. So part of that cabin is below the water line. These are smaller cabins. They're great for single people, or, you know, if you're looking to be a little bit more budget minded, that's a great way. I've stayed in those cabins. They're really lovely. They have all the amenities and the computer and everything else that AMA offers. So they're really a nice option. Little small on the smaller side, but you don't spend that much time in your cabin. You're out every day. doing things. If you look at the lower right-hand corner, that's the ship. And if you look, the top deck is totally open. There's a small pool, there's a hot tub, there's chess, those big chess games to play. You can walk around the deck if you want to, exercise as if you're jogging in the morning. There's a bar up there. So there's a lot of outdoor space. If you look at kind of the front of the ship and you see those vertical windows that are going around, that's the lounge, 270-degree views around you. So when you're sailing, you might rather just be in the lounge, have a drink, have a coffee. There's a coffee station. You can get cappuccinos, hot chocolate, whatever, 24/7. The bar is there, whatever you want. So it's a lovely way. You don't necessarily need to do it in your cabin. And the lower middle is just this is kind of the check-in. It's really like a hotel. There's service 24/7. If you need anything, you have a butler in your or a cabin person in your cabin. Anything you need, they're there. You have a computer. You have an Apple computer in your room. It's just everything that you could possibly imagine, is there on the ship. It's all inclusive. It includes all your meals. It includes beer and wine at lunch and dinner. You can get champagne in the morning if you want to have a mimosa. There is a cocktail party before dinner. So that's all included. Lots of times after dinner, what I'll do is I'll have them pour my glass of wine and then take it up to the lounge. Afterwards, there's often music and entertainment, dancing sometimes. So, or you can, get a drink at the bar. So everything is there. All the excursions are included. So really, basically, there's no reason other than gratuities. And if you want to give somebody an extra tip or do laundry, that's really only your only extra expenses. Everything else is included in the price of it. Except when we're in Amsterdam at the hotel, breakfast is included, lunch and dinner, you're on your own. So you can follow me everywhere. I'm all over social media. And actually, you see that we have a YouTube channel, and tonight's presentation will be posted on that hopefully by tomorrow. So if you want to go back and look at something or you want to share it with a friend, it'll be there for you to see. And this is probably one of my most favorite quotes. Using a travel advisor is like a great bottle of wine. You may never know all the love and attention that went into creating the trip, but you'll definitely taste it. And I can guarantee that there's going to be great tastes of many things, whether it's art, food, culture, sustainability, it'll all be there. So I'm going to open this up to questions, but because I'm so appreciative of all of you coming and staying and being here, if you sign up before January 31st, I will give you $100 per person saving off your price of your trip. So just as a thank you and a happy new year and all good things, and my wanting to share this fabulous experience with you. So if you have a question, I'm going to stop sharing this. And let's see. So if you have a question, unmic yourself, raise your hand, whatever feels comfortable for you. And I'd love to answer anything I can for anybody. I did such a good job. There's no questions. Cookie, is that you raising your hand?
No, it's me putting myself on mute again.
Oh, okay.
Andy,
Yeah.
hi, Lois here.
Hi, Lois.
I just wanted to say something because I'm probably the one person that's here that has been to Floriade.
Yes, exactly. Tell us, Lois.
I went in 92 and 02. I didn't get there in 12. I had family issues, but Floriade is, as Sandy was saying, I spent 30 years of my working life in horticulture. So that's why I knew about Floriade. And it is the cutting edge of what's going on horticulturally around the world, because the nations come to Floriade, and as Sandy was saying, have their pavilions, show their take on what the theme is, what's going on. And it is just phenomenal if you're into horticulture or gardens or anything forward thinking like that. It is a one of a kind event. And each one is different, and they do it every 10 years. And they do this same thing. They build a park. In this instance, it's the first time they're building a town. But it is truly exciting. And the garden tours that Sandy has put together, and we worked with Alma Waterways on, also makes, while you're on tour with the cruise through Holland and Belgium, that much more unique, because these are some gardens that you necessarily would not be able to see were you to go on your own. Correct, Sandy?
Absolutely, absolutely.
They have,
And the fact that we're going to have, toured by the docents or whatever from these places, I mean, and no one else is doing this. I mean, there is not, even Alma, if you look at their Netherlands, Belgium thing, all you get is one day at Floriade and no special gardens.
yes. And the other thing, if you have not been to the flower auction at Aalsmeer, it is phenomenal. And being a florist for 30 years, I've worked with many Dutch flowers, and that is a unique experience in itself. People, I also was just in the Netherlands last November. So the flower markets there in Amsterdam is nothing compared to the Aalsmeer auction.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's a million football fields full of flowers. And the minute something gets bid up, you start seeing these carts going, and they're just going all over the place, and they're on airplanes. And there's a big map there, and it shows, it's got one of those things where theirs is, and then it shows you how out into the world, all these, it's amazing where the flowers come to the auction and where they go back out. It's really mind-blowing. Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
Sandy, this is Wendy.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi. I just wanted to let everybody know, my husband and I have traveled with Sandy. She put together a trip for us personally, which was absolutely fabulous. And I went on a tour with her in India. I can't think of anybody I would rather travel with. And honestly, when people say they're going to plan their own trips, I know they're missing out.
Oh, Wendy, that's so sweet. Thank you for saying that. I love traveling with you. It's just great. And Tom.
It's very exciting.
Any other comments, questions? I know some people who are already signed up on our trip and just wanted to find out a little bit more. And, we're love to have all of you come. It would be really great. Wouldn't that be fun? We could all be together. I know Beverly's got several of her people who are her followers from her garden magazine and her garden destination are coming. So it's really going to be amazing. Anybody else?
Sandy, it's Marcia Blonstein.
Hi, Marcia.
This was a wonderful presentation, and I know I won't be able to go, but I long to go. It is absolutely gorgeous. And thank you.
Thank you, Marcia.
Very much, Sandy.
Thanks. Well, think about it. This is, basically, what a great way to travel. Everything's outdoors. You couldn't be healthier.
Sandy,
Yes.
this is Beverly.
Hi, Beverly.
For add-on time at the end, how doable is it to add on Kuchenhof Gardens?
It doesn't exist. Kuchenhof is only from the end of March to the beginning of May. The tulips are
okay.
by then.
So it's all gone by then.
Yeah, and actually, when I was planning this, I consulted Lois a little bit, and also I've worked with Philoli, for those of you who are in the Bay Area that know Philoli and the gardens, and Jim, who's the head of horticulture there. We talked about what would be the optimum time to be at Floriade, because if you go to, even though it opens in April, if you go too early, I'm mixed to get everybody on mute here. That if you go too early, they're not in bloom. So we picked what is really the optimum time for the flowers to be in bloom in the Netherlands. So you can do Keukenhof every year. Keukenhof happens every single year. Floriade happens once in a decade. And so it's really an amazing experience to have. As Lois has said, she's been there twice and she can't wait to go back again.
Sandy, Steve and Laura Olson have a question.
Hi, Steve and Laura.
Hi, how are you? It sounds fabulous. I have a question for you. How many reservations do you have?
I have, right now, I have chartered 25 cabins.
25 cabins. Okay.
Right.
Okay, great.
And there are 80 cabins on the ship.
Mhm.
So I've committed to 25. I can increase that depending on, what the demand is, but that's what I felt comfortable committing to.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? And, on the cabins, there's all different kinds, as we saw the thing, there's the different kinds of cabins. There's also a couple of suites. 2 of them are already gone, but there's still 2 suites left. So those look like the twin balconies. They're just larger and have more space than the one that you saw with the twin balconies. Anybody else? All right, well, thank you, everyone. It was really wonderful having you here. Thank you for taking your time. I know everybody's time is precious. Remember, if you sign up before.
I think you have one more question.
Oh, yes. Where is this? Who? I don't know if you're on screen 1 or 2. Who?
It's coming in from the chat. So are there other guests on the boat, not on your tour?
Yes, there will be. But they will not be going on any of our special garden excursions.
On the other hand, if we have people in our group who are, say, college students and are not interested in every single garden tour, there are things on the ship that they could join, correct?
Absolutely. There will be other things that other people are doing they can do. One of the things, if you've never been on a river cruise before and you've been on an ocean cruise, they're really very different. One of the first things is the rivers were the highways of Europe. So, they go into all these little small towns and villages, as well as some of the major cities like Brussels or Antwerp or Ghent. But so you're into these charming little places that you could never go on a cruise ship. You pull up right in the center of town. You can walk off the ship. You don't have to do any of the excursions if you don't want to. You can walk off the ship and do your own thing, sit in a cafe, watch the world go by, explore on your own. You can do a bike tour, or you can take a bicycle on your own and go off and do your own thing. I mean, I was just on a Taste of Bordeaux, and there were days people just said, I'm at it. I just want to go off. I want to shop. I want to do this. I want to do that. And just did their own thing. I mean, you have a lot of flexibility. So if you are really into gardens and your partner is not, there is lots of opportunity to do other things. They don't have to do that. Even in Amsterdam, they could go 1 day to Floriade and 1 day trip around Amsterdam. I mean, you don't have to do 2 days at Floriade. So, there's a lot of flexibility for people on river cruising. You don't have to do the same thing. And the other thing is about the way the tours are set up. What AMA does is they do it into the active, the middle, and then the slow walkers. So if you're, if you're got a lot of energy and you want to go around, then you go with the active people and you walk faster and you'll do more things. The middle is the middle, and the slow walkers, they'll basically see the same things. But let's say there's a site and it's like way down the street. They may just look at it from one end of the street and not walk all the way down to where it is. So they accommodate people who may have some sort of mobility issues or something. So they really separate it out. So if you're an energetic high walker, don't feel that you're going to be slowed down because somebody else might have broken their leg and now they're walking with a cast, on the trip or something like that. So, they do separate that in terms of touring, so you don't have to do that. But again, you want to sleep in late, have a late breakfast, walk off the ship, do your own thing, you can do that. You want to go on a tour, you want to take a bike, you want to go on a bike tour. There's lots of options.
Sandy, I would like to say that based on my personal experience, which you're aware of, if someone has some limited mobility, they should get a mobility scooter.
Yeah, that really works really well.
It has made me very mobile, and there are a lot of trips I would not have gone on without one. And also, we've been on AMA waterways through your recommendation, and it's fabulous. It is automatically, since then, it's our default first choice. Now, we haven't gone in any since then, but whenever we've looked and considered, it's always AMA waterways over everything else. They were terrific.
Yeah, they're really great. I mean, they do a fabulous job, and they really make you feel welcome and home. And, you know, in the dining room, the waiters will know exactly what you want. Also, if you have any food allergies or problems or anything, they will accommodate everything. And they have won all kinds of awards for their food. And one of the things that's really interesting, which you may or may not know, AMA does not, the only freezer that AMA has on the ship is for ice cream. Nothing else goes in a freezer. They source all fresh food, vegetables, meats, whatever, every day. The ship gets stocked because, you know, they're coming into a new little village every day. And whatever part of the world, I mean, most of their cruises are in Europe, but they do have Egypt, which I'm going on in February, and the Southeast and the Mekong. And they're going to be doing Colombia in, I think, 2023, which I am real excited about. Anyway, so they source and they try and do the cuisines and the wines and the beers from the local area, so that you're really getting a feeling of being immersed in the local culture. Anybody else? Well, again, thank you all. This has been fabulous. I hope you learned something. I hope you're really excited. I hope you want to come with us. It's going to be really an amazing trip. And, you know, we'll have Beverly. I mean, she's an expert in gardens and stuff like that. How exciting. So it's really going to be an amazing, amazing trip. And just a note, I did put my email address in the chat. So if you think of a question afterwards and you want to send me a note or something, I think all of you probably have my email address, but you know, it's there. My website is really easy to remember. It's wemaketraveleasy.com. And there is a tab that says Floriade Expo. And you can click on that and it'll go through this itinerary again for you. And then at the bottom, it'll say information on pricing. You click on that and you can sign up for your cabin, whatever cabin you want. You can put your request in for cabins. I mean, we have several that are full, but there's still availability in all the different categories. And that's how easy it is to sign up. And then you're in and we'll be in touch with you and we'll have a fabulous time. I'll see you in the end of May. All right, any last thoughts, questions? All right, well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it for hosting it. This was really great.
Another great presentation. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.